I've always mentioned that Gita is a life management book, and almost all the self-help life management books, etc., that I've read is all sourced from the Gita. So it becomes very important as we maneuver through our life. So let me take this particular shlok, chapter 4, verse 22. 6 parts I'm dividing the meaning of this shlok, and how I look at it, or how I interpret, or how I try to apply it to my life in terms of my decision making and all. That's what I'm sharing here. All right, let me read the whole meaning first. Content with whatsoever he gets without efforts, free from pains of opposites, free from malice, balanced in success and failure, though acting he is not bound. So let me discuss this in 6 parts. So one is content. So content with whatever chance is bringing you, whatever is happening, whatever, even without taking efforts. I'll come to each of the bit. First of all, we need to have a very calm and composed, a relaxed state of mind in order to be able to take right decisions. If I'm not content at all, and in a very grudging manner, if I'm doing my work, be it at office or while I'm studying, obviously my motivation level is very low and my concentration level will be very, very low. I am not going to be 100% there when I'm doing whatever work I'm doing. So my output and quality will be poor, and that will again bring more discontentment in me as I move forward. So I need to be content. Of course, if you are not comfortable, or if you're not content with in terms of how things are, then you need to think, write down, and approach whatever work you have in hand, or whatever you're targeting. You need to approach in that manner so as to be very, very calm and composed, motivated while you're working, while you're doing any action, whatever you're doing. Moving to the second part, chance. Now, obviously, it's not asking you to depend on luck. But what happens is, you do your work, but there will be a lot of non-controllable factors. Therefore, your control is only on your actions. So we can only have control on the input, but not on the output. Say, for example, I go for a job interview and absolutely well prepared, but I do not crack that interview, or I do not get that position, even though I did my best, and it was a very, very good interview as well. But the problem is that somebody else had a recommendation and they got the job. So it is not about you not performing well, or say, for example, you fall ill before the exam. You were 100% prepared, but you were not able to concentrate because you were running a high temperature. So there are certain factors which are going to be non-controllable, and you cannot do anything about it. So you have to accept that. What you can do is possibly that do not leave your preparation to the last moment. So these things we'll have to work it out, that there will be certain factors which are not in control. Third point, without efforts. That does not mean that we will not work hard. The point is that we need to have our ego removed. It's at times we feel that, I am doing all this hard work, therefore this has to happen. So we need to get that ego aspect out of it from that equation. When we say or think that I'm working too much, or I'm doing too much, or I'm struggling too much, you automatically feel exhausted, even if you actually do not feel that exhausted. You are not supposed to be saying that to yourself that, I'm working so hard, I'm exhausted. For example, when you have 24 hours, so this was from the book Digital Minimalism, you have 24 hours in a day, 8 hours you're working, 8 hours you're sleeping. So you have 8 hours for your leisurely activities, to relax, etc. You can actually work much more in the remaining 8 hours, because the days you're going to be using those remaining 8 hours productively, you'll sleep better, you'll feel better, you'll have much more contentment or satisfaction. But if you actually end up wasting that time doing absolutely nothing, it is actually not going to get you relaxed. Yes, when you're sitting by yourself, thinking, etc., that is definitely going to re-energize you, contemplating, etc. But if you're mindlessly going through your phone or television for the remaining 8 hours, if you're doing absolutely something which is very dormant, something that does not even make you feel truly happy, so in that case, that 8 hours is not going to get you that kind of leisure. So anyways, when we're talking about without efforts, we're not saying that you're not going to be working hard, but you don't have to pester on it. You don't have to think that I'm doing so much of XYZ hard work, etc. That is what you need to remove from your thought process. So of course you're doing that hard work, but you're not telling yourself that I'm working so hard and I'm exhausted and this and that. Fourth is free from pains of malice or jealousy. Of course, everybody says you should not be jealous, it is only going to be harming you, not the other person. How do you make sure that happens? So, when you do not take yourself that seriously, I do not mean to say that you lose your values or you take things lightly. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying when you do not take yourself, as in that ego aspect of yours, very seriously, that how come I was made fun of or how come I was not able to do it. So when you get out of that I part, because everybody is working hard, everybody is doing their bit, in that case, you will not be that jealous. And the comparison and everything has skyrocketed with social media and everything. So even when you see something online, even when you see somebody else doing something, you should rather be inspired than be jealous. You see what they are doing to get there, what you can do to improve. So you need to take your actions, you need to work hard, but not by being jealous of the outcomes. If at all you want to be jealous, of course I'm saying it in a positive way and I do not mean that you should be, but if at all you want to be jealous of inputs, of the hard work, of the values, and not of the outcomes or how people are spending or splurging. For example, I'll give you this incident. So I think it was 7-8 years back and I was talking to somebody quite senior to me. So I just mentioned that, these are the books I was reading and we were discussing on our reading and all of that. And I was like, you're reading these many books and I'm not being able to catch up with that. So that's the right kind of competition that you need to have. Of course, I have no competition with him. He's an extremely senior person. But this is how you need to approach things when you're interacting with people. Look at the good habits, good things, hard work. Look at all that goes behind in getting somewhere and try to get inspired by that rather than just getting jealous of the outcome of somebody. Fifth part is balance in success and failure. Equanimity. This is extremely important. In fact, I've discussed this in a lot of detail in an entire book by Dr. Spencer Johnson. The book's name is Peaks and Valleys. Is about just this part of this shlok. Just this phrase, balance in success and failure. So in a very detailed manner, I've discussed that in the Peaks and Valleys lecture. So over here what happens is if you're not balanced during success and failure, your relationships will fall apart with people around you, your family and everybody. Your decision making will be absolutely wrong. Extremely important to have a good decision making because ultimately all the outcomes in your life are going to depend quite a bit. Of course, there would be a luck factor maybe, or a lot of factors are there involved, non-controllable factors, but the controllable factors are the kind of decisions you take. And the decisions will become incorrect if your balance, how you handle success and failure is incorrect. During success, you could be arrogant, over-optimistic, too much risk-taking, which could lead to failure. And during failure, you may not be able to get out of it because of, again, the ego aspect. You'll not be able to, work on yourself, strengthen yourself in order to get there, and you'll not be able to get out of that valley. So the objective is that you work so hard and you take the valley in your stride to reach a peak. When you're at the peak, at that point of time, you maintain your humility, you maintain your learning. You do not fall down into a valley. Check the peaks and valleys part. That is very important. And this is the reason why the amount of change that is happening in industry, at work, technology, in every which way, that causes people a lot of depression and all these challenges and social anxiety and all of these things. Because you are not being able to handle that change, that movement along in the very right way. So that balance during success and failure is extremely important. And the last bit, 6, though he's acting, he's not bound. So see, you have to understand that work and wisdom go together. Knowledge and action have to go together. The outcome should not define you as a person. There is a saying that a stupid person who's very rich seems to be very intelligent. That is unfortunately how society looks at people, very unfortunately, that if you have a certain amount of wealth, you are wise, you are knowledgeable, you are right, you are a good decision maker, but that outcome actually should not define you as a person. Even when you're judging somebody or when you're meeting somebody, their outcome should not be defining how you look at them. The inputs should be what should define. So basically, the idea is, though he's acting, he's not bound. So when you start understanding that it is not the outcome that you need to be bothered about, it is not the outcome that you should judge, but the input, in that case, you would not take yourself that seriously. You need to be brutally honest with yourself. You need to make sure you're doing your best, you're working hard, performing in the most diligent manner, you're being very honest, everything agreed. But at the same time, it is not the outcome that you should be judging. You do your work, you do your karma, and the rest is not so much of your problem. The rest is his problem. In that case, you don't get bound. You don't take your ego so seriously that why this did not happen. You do your bit, and eventually in the long term, things are any which way is going to work out. So the focus should be on the inputs and not on the output. And similarly, don't judge people on the basis of the outcomes. You judge people on the basis of the input. I know it's been a bit lengthy, but this is how I look at it and how I try to apply when I'm reading this particular shlok. Chapter 4, verse 22.